All right, how's it going, people? Liberal Hill, and it's time for some late night conservative. I'm sorry, Coonservative busting. Let's start with. I can't even believe this is a thing because look, first of all, conservatives are just a concoction of hypocrisy, stupidity, and corruption. And when you have a black person who's pretty much, what's the word, trying to sell out just for a piece of that right-wing money, it's disgusting, one. And two, it makes you look completely stupid because what you say can be complete. They don't even focus on facts. They just go off of I'm right, you're wrong. Hey, you bring up some facts, fake news. That's pretty much their whole defense. But let's just get into this. So before I play the video, the story was two ranchers, father, son, they get convicted of burning federal land. They get 5 years mandatory minimum. If you've ever been convicted of a serious crime, you know what that means. Mandatory minimum. Trump comes in, oh, you're a white nationalist. We gotta pardon you. So I'm gonna play this video and debunk everything this guy says because look, conservatives, in a way, they're worse than conservatives because let's get into the video. So athlete Brian Logan.
Years old. Stephen is 49. They are father and son cattle ranching team up there in Oregon. They were convicted in 2012 of arson, and there's been a whole roller coaster ride as it relates to their original sentence, release, resentence, and then readmittance to jail on essentially the same charges. Now, before we get into that whole situation, why they were in jail, how they got back to jail, why they're pardoned, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the so-called federal building takeover, which was in part.
Okay, I got something right there. He says so-called federal building takeover. So if you don't know what that is, Cliven Bundy, yes, Cliven Bundy, the guy that thinks everything is his. He takes over government buildings, government land, doesn't want to pay the taxes on them. Yeah, you know, the guy that's basically freeloading off of the country. Yeah, that guy. Well, him and his sons took over a building, a federal building at that, and they held it up for, I think, like a couple of weeks or months or whatever, and they basically told officers, fuck you, and if you try to come in here or get close, we'll kill you. Yeah, and wow, isn't white privilege something else? You can hold up a federal building, tell the police fuck you, and say you're going to kill them. But I guess to Anthony Brian Logan, leaving these details out and saying quotation marks, small crime or whatever, it doesn't matter.
On their behalf and also in part on behalf of other things. Dwight and Stephen Hammond were not involved with that particular thing because they were obviously in jail. They couldn't have been involved with the protests if they were in jail or on the way to jail. So that wasn't their deal. That was initiated by Ammon Bundy and then Cliven Bundy. Ammon Bundy is Cliven Bundy's son. I guess Ammon had heard about it, so he petitioned his father and a bunch of other guys to come so-called occupy a federal building. And by the way, you hear that a lot over the next couple of days.
I just can't get over the fact that he says he does this federal building. There's no quotation marks in federal building. It's a fucking building owned by the government. Federal fucking building. Oh, it's the post office. A federal. It's a fucking.
Days in the news media, the federal building is not what you think. You think federal building, you're like, okay, did they go into the NSA and beat up the clerk and take a high-ranking official hostage? No. I'll place the so-called federal building on the screen before you, and you're able to see what it is. It's like a wildlife reserve. You go there, it's like a deck. You got some coffee, some visitors pamphlets, that type of thing. And when they actually occupied it, it was on a holiday weekend, and nobody was there. I think they got a key from somewhere. They didn't even really break the window. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
Where do I even begin? This is gonna be a long video. I'm like 2 minutes in, and the hypocrisy, the stupidity is overflowing. Oh, when you think of government building, it was just, a wildlife building owned by the federal government. It's a federal. Well, nobody was there. It's a federal fucking building. Well, it was on. It's a federal fucking. They didn't even break a window. It's a fucking building, idiot.
They went to the place that was unoccupied and they camped out. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to just walk into a place and do that, but let's just put it in proper context. And let's also detach the Hammonds away from this, because the Hammonds were not involved. Yes, their case may have started the situation, but that was not their doing. So let's just get that clear. So if anybody says, oh, you can just occupy a federal building and get pardoned, no, we'll talk about people that were involved with the federal building a little bit later. Let's go back to Stephen and Dwight.
I like how the fact that he said, oh, they just camped out. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just protesting. They pointed guns at federal officers and told the officers, we will kill you. Why are you trying to paint them as good people? I don't even. What's the deal here, man? You're leaving out facts that people can find anywhere on the internet, in newspapers, on video. They have videos of these people pointing guns at federal. Why? Let's continue, man.
Hammond and White's case is important. They were arrested, convicted, or whatever in 2012 of arson. And what happened was different than what the judge said happened. Dwight and Stephen said that they did a controlled burn on their land as basic land maintenance to prevent an invasive species of plant from overtaking their land that they needed for cattle ranching. And the court decision, which I'll place in the box below, they said, talking about the court now, they said they burned land to conceal illegal game hunting. Like, they killed some deer on federally owned land, and then they burned the land to conceal the actual illegalities going on, which doesn't make any sense, because why would you burn land, which is also illegal, if you're trying to cover up an illegal act? But
why is this man so stupid? Like, okay, first of all, let's just go back. These people, they got mad that the federal government that owns this land, they told them, look, we're going to put this fence because this is our land. We own this land. You own this land, we own that land. We will let your cows graze over here for free, even though you're supposed to pay, but because conservatives cry about other people being freeloaders, but they're even bigger freeloaders, we'll let you, we'll let your cows come over here and graze, whatever. No big deal. But you have to tell us a day ahead. Oh, whoa, that's pretty much their reaction. So they killed multiple deers that were not, they weren't supposed to kill. They weren't supposed to kill the deers. It was illegal poaching. In order to cover up the evidence, I wonder how you would get rid of bodies and carcasses. Would it be burning? I guess you could burn carcasses to get rid of evidence. So when they did this, guess what? They ended up burning, not just Anthony Logan. They just did a small burn. They burned over 100 and close to 150 acres, and almost killed people. Like on those acres, there were federal agents on that land that could have been killed in this fire. But Anthony Brown, they're white people. They just did a small burn. Nothing serious. Nothing to write home about. What? And let's just throw this also in there. There's documented history of these Hammond guys, especially the father, for 20 years. He's been threatening federal officers with physical violence and threats of gun violence for over 20 years. But yet, no charges. Document though, no charges. How, son? First of all, you're stealing land. You're trying to steal land from the federal government, and when they put up like any kind of roadblock, stop. You can't put your cows here, but we'll allow you to do it. We'll allow you to do it. Just give us a day ahead of, in advance. So when you're going to do it, you get upset and do this. How is this allowed? How is anybody even defending this? And the stupidity of this man to say, "Oh, if they killed the deers, why would they?" Because you can burn carcasses, you moron. How the?
I'm move on. Dwight and Stevens said that they did a controlled burn of their land that they own, but it accidentally spread to the federal land and burned 139 acres. Regardless of what was going on, a deal was reached in Oregon with the local people, the local judges. Dwight was given, I think, 3 or 4 months in jail, and his son, Stephen, was given 1 year in jail. So they went to jail, they served their time, and they come home.
All right. Swiss cheese, like, he's putting out statements, just shooting them up. I'm just shooting the facts through them. Look, the judge who retired, I guess he doesn't follow the rule of law when it comes to conservative white nationalists or whatever. But if you burn federal land, it's right there in the rule of law. Conservatives love the rule of law when it comes to Black people, Latino people, other people. The rule of law says, hey, if you burn federal land or commit arson, hell, let's even throw in the illegal poaching of deer, 5 years mandatory. Mandatory minimum. So when the judge, who is either retarded or is showing favoritism to the people, to these guys, said, "Oh, we're just gonna give you 3 months." 3 months. The federal government comes in and says, "The fuck? 3 months? No, homeboy. 5 years mandatory minimum. That's the law. What time, sir? That's the law. You have to follow the law. So they write a letter to Trump because Trump, he loves white nationalists. He loves conservatives. He helps them no matter what crime they do. Even if they burn land that's federally owned by the government and they almost kill federal employees, Trump, oh, pardon. They burned the land. They burned it. At least arson, which holds the 5-year mandatory minimum. But like I said, the rule of law, conservatives, they think they're above the law. They don't have to follow the rule of law, but black people do. Other people do. But when it comes to them, oh, I'm above the law. And you have this guy, Anthony Brian Logan, who's defending it. How? And then you're leaving out important facts to people that they can easily go on the internet and look and find out themselves. Let's continue.
Boom. A few months, maybe a couple of years later, get a knock on the door, and it's from the federals. The federal judge in Oregon or in that district, that area, had vacated the sentences they got before and gave them a new sentence because they said at the time they got was illegal because there's a federal mandatory minimum for committing arson on federally owned land. And this federally owned land is the Bureau of Land Management. And for the purpose of this video, we'll call it the BLM. So they burned the BLM land and they got resentenced actually to 5 years on a mandatory minimum minus time served. This happened in 2016. So I think the father, Dwight, will be coming home next year. And the son will be coming home a little bit later. Or, pardon me, a little bit earlier because he got a year versus the father who got like 3 or 4 months. So the father and the son have been in jail this whole time. They petitioned Trump and the White House, the administration, to get their sentences commuted, not necessarily to get a pardon, which is different. A pardon expunges your record. It says you didn't do it at all. There's nothing there. A commutation says that you did do it. You may not be able to have your rights all the way as a regular citizen. You still may be a felon, but you get home early, basically. Instead of getting an actual commutation, they got a full pardon, which is better. So this is really good. This kind of validates the point that they were making and the point that the protesters are making, which was a federal overreach. How are you going to come in and say that the jail sentence I got was too little? I mean, really, it appears to be a mistake because if it should have been the federal mandatory minimum, how did I go to jail and serve my time without that?
Because the judge, why do I even have to say this? Like, because the judge showed white privilege to you, to the people. Let me get this straight. In Anthony Brian Logan's world or mind, white people can commit arson that has a 5-year mandatory minimum. 3 years, that's okay. Oh, the government, they came in and said, I have to serve the mandatory minimum. That's the federal overreach. No, that's the fucking government doing its job. You know, the rule of law. What will this man defend? This man will defend any conservative point. And what is it? What, Brian Logan, I have to ask. You're saying this. You're saying these things. And first of all, with like things that you can honestly simply debunk, or just go on the internet and find out, hey, that's a lie, or that's not the whole story. Why sell yourself out like this? Why do this? Is the YouTube money that good? It isn't. Is the YouTube money worth your dignity? Like, honestly, I have to ask, like, a lot of conservatives see on YouTube, they have these points, and they're like, oh, yeah, da, 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 da. But then you do some research using Google, and you see it, and you're like, oh, well, that's not entirely true. Seems like that guy is lying. I'm just amazed that this guy, he can just set up his webcam and just go at it full lie. No context of what happens. Defend, like I said, anything. Hey, white nationalists set a fire on a federal building, almost killed people. 3 months. That's more than fair. That's completely fair. You've been threatening federal agents for 20 years. Oh man, you should deserve a medal. You bring into a federal building and threaten federal agents. Shame on those agents. Shame on them for trying to arrest you.
At being there, if you make a mistake, federal government, then that's on you. Don't make me suffer. If I go to jail, come home, and then I gotta go back to jail, that's not how that works. It kind of seems like double jeopardy. Now, let's move on from Dwight and Steven, who have been pardoned, so they should be coming home like right now, which is a great thing. Hopefully everything is good.
Yes, they can come home and threaten more federal agents, try to take over more federal land that they don't own, kill and poach deer illegally. Yes, these are real stand-up guys of the community. I mean, what would society do without these guys?
They're able to resume their lives with their families. Let's move on to the protest, which is linked to this story, but it's not directly connected. Like I said earlier, the Hammonds were not involved with the protest. I think at this point, they were either in jail or on the way back to jail. They were not up there occupying this so-called government building, which, again, is nothing more than a glorified rest stop. The people who were involved with this, some of them went to jail. Unfortunately, you had LaFort Vinicum, who got shot and killed by police. Very sad situation.
Oh, yes, very sad situation. I mean, the guy that pointed guns at federal agents, he got shot. I mean, how dare the federal officers shoot a man who pointed a gun at them? It's not like they would do that to, Black people, Latino people. Oh wait, they do shoot unarmed Black people and Latino people. But this is a tragedy. A white man who took over a federal building, who pointed a gun at an officer, a federal officer at that. Him getting shot by the officer who he threatened, or officers. That's where do they find these people? Where do they find people like Anthony Brown? Like seriously, who bro, ABL, look at me, bro. Look at me. How much they paying you, man? I need to know how much. I can fake and be a fake Republican too. Look, check. Donald Trump is one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. Everything he does makes sense, and he is not corrupt. I can do that. I can fucking do that. How much are they paying you, bro? Cause you're out here looking like a goddamn idiot. You're saying shit that makes no damn sense. Oh, White Rancher killed. He pointed fuck.
But some of the guys went to jail. Now, Edmund and Cliven, and I think two other people, one of the other sons of Cliven and one other guy, they had been held for about a year or a little bit less for the whole government takeover kerfuffle. They had been held without bail for a year without being convicted. And the judge
I like how he did government. They took over a fucking federal building. It's no government. It was a literal government takeover. Nope, no quotation marks. No, nah. It was literally a government takeover. They took over a government. I don't give a fuck. It was a government-owned hot dog stand. It's owned by the federal government. You take it over. You took over a government building / property.
Gloria Navarro of the U.S. District Court in Nevada actually dismissed all of their charges against them with prejudice, which means that they cannot be brought up on charges again. And it's kind of a complicated reason why that happened, but basically it was not enough evidence, and there seemed to be some bullying going on from the prosecution. So they are not in jail at all right now, so there's no need to actually pardon them. The judge in the case did what was necessary because of...
First of all, there was no evidence. There was no evidence of them taking over the government building. I mean, it's not like there's videotape of them in the building for an odd number of days. There's not videotape of them, I don't know, pointing guns at federal officers. There's not videotape of them telling the officers they'll kill them. I guess that's not enough to convince somebody of taking over a federal building. And then one of the guys who's with them committing this crime, they committed a crime, got shot by an officer. Did you know if you commit a crime and the officers kill your compatriot, you're charged with the crime of murder? But yet, mysteriously, Cliven Freeloader Bundy isn't charged. I'm looking for the bullshit meter to like just go off the rails somewhere. Like, I don't. How? Again, I can't even like. How do you defend that? You know the story, but yet you cut out huge bits and pieces of it in order to soften it to your conservative base so that they can, I guess, give you money. I guess that's whatever.
The dismissing with prejudice, they cannot be brought up on charges again. So that's good. Justice has most certainly been served. And the bigger issue here is a federal overreach. The Bureau of Land Management, mandatory minimums for an accident. I mean, it's just too much. And this is part of what happened.
An accident? Burning over 100 acres. An accident? First of all, the amount of starter, the propellant or whatever, you have to use to burn that much land. What? That's not an accident. You meant to do that. And then he's like federal overreach with a mandatory. Let's just flip this around, bro. So let's just say something of your, like, your car stolen. ABO. Your car stolen. They catch the guy. Hey, the mandatory minimum for car theft, 10 years. But the judge says, oh, the mandatory minimum was 10 years, but fuck it, 2 weeks. You will be livid in court. But here on YouTube, because I guess you want some of that sweet, sweet conservative money, you say, hey, these guys committed arson. The mandatory minimum was 5, but yeah, I'm happy with them getting 3 months. It's,
not to pardon, of course, but them going to jail at all and protests happening at all is a result of large government. It becomes too bloated and it often ignores the needs and the wants of the regular everyday person. Okay. Clive and Bundy, Edmund Bundy shouldn't have been in jail. They shouldn't have had to actually go to the place to do the protest to begin with.
Did he just say Clive and Bundy, his sons, shouldn't be? Oh, yeah. How dare we put these guys in jail for breaking into a federal building, pointing guns at officers, threatening them, getting one of their own people? How? Oh, my. We should have just let them out, kiss them on the forehead, gave them guns to shoot black people. How dare we put these people in jail? And look, he says, oh, government overreach. Government gets too big and it forgets the needs of other people. Shut the fuck up. Conservatives, they love saying that stupid line, but yet they love big government. They love big government in your lives, controlling everything, giving money to corporations. They love that. But they hate big government when it does things like healthcare for everybody, Social Security, safety net, and other programs that help the community as a whole or the nation as a whole. They hate that. Oh, it's big government's bad. Oh, corporate welfare. Yeah, that's good. I love corporate welfare. I mean, that's my favorite right there, bro. Stop people from getting abortion. Oh, I mean, that's not big government. I mean, it is, but I'm a conservative, so I can just have double standards. I can just keep going, but yeah, all right.
Dwight and Stephen Hammond shouldn't have been locked up because they already been to jail. The sentence that they got was enough because
this man just say 3 months is enough of a sentence for. Let's just run this down. Threatening federal officers, illegal game poaching, burning, aka arson, burning arson of federal land, almost killing federal officers with said fire. And I haven't even brought this up yet. This was the second time they've done this. Yeah. But 3 months. Oh, 3 months. How? I mean, what would it take, Anthony Brown Logan, for them to get the mandatory minimum for arson? I mean, what? Kill 5, 6 federal agents with fire, and then I guess maybe 3 months would be fair. I guess then. But until then, hey, commit arson. As long as you're a white conservative, black conservatives will defend it at any cost.
It was a little bit of evidence that they were involved with illegal game hunting, but it was also evidence that the actual land burning was an accident. So for that, what they got originally was enough. For the federal government to come back and give them more time is the reason why Trump had to step in and say, okay, you guys can go home. This is just.
Okay. First of all, how about this? Maybe if the judge would have given them the mandatory minimum that they should have got in the first place, we wouldn't have been here. No protest. But instead, because the judge showed them white privilege, they got 3 months. And maybe the judge should have followed rule of law and gave them the 5 years mandatory minimum for arson on federal land.
It's too much. It was overreached by the Obama administration because the person that came was a judge. I forget her name, but that was of the federal court. It was not of the local court in Oregon. So that's pretty much all I got to say. Trump is doing a good job with the pardons, and the offer is still out there to the NFL guys. Remember, he said, hey, if you have anybody.
He's doing a great job by pardoning terrorist white nationalists who threaten federal officers and almost kill people with arson fires. It's not a good job. That's completely not a good job. So I'm gonna just stop the video right here because, first of all, this man's stupid. Second of all, it's making my head hurt. Third of all, I don't like. I really need to know how much this guy is selling his soul for. Like, because this is ridiculous. Like, bro, you know we all have internet and we can rebuttal anything you say with research and type. Basically, just type the story in, read the whole document, get the other facts, and you just come at the story like, damn, this guy is lying, and he's fucking stupid. Like, why? Like, anyway, we got here. Tell your thoughts on this, man. Like, this story, this Logan guy, and I just can't even do it, man. Like, I'm gonna move on. I can't even do him anymore. Like, he's completely brainwashed. Oh, Patreon, right winger money, Trump, MAGA. I don't even have any logical thought in my mind. I don't have any independent thought. Oh, I'll get it all out there. That's him. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.